This video is to provide a basic explanation of file handling. I'm going to talk through a PowerPoint presentation to begin with, and then I'm going to write a LiveCode file handling program. What I've got here is a picture of the main components of a computer system. I have my backing storage, I have the processor with the buses that connect it to main memory, and I have main memory consisting of RAM, and I have a small body of ROM at the bottom of main memory. Residing in RAM at the minute, I've got my LiveCode file handling program, and what I want to achieve is to read in this data from this file into RAM so that I can carry out operations on the data, and then when I've finished, I'd like to be able to write that data back to the backing storage. So the first thing I have to do is create a variable that can connect RAM to this backing storage file. So I've called it file choice. You can call it anything you want pretty much, and I'm going to connect it to this backing storage file. Now this file I've created in Word. I've just set up some numbers separated by the return character, and I stored it as plain text, so it's the file extension .txt. Now when I make that connection, what I'm essentially doing is I'm giving the address of this file as the value of this variable. So I make the connection, I assign that variable to be pointing at or addressing this file on backing storage. And most languages provide some code to let you make that link. The next thing that I need to do is I need to provide a variable that's going to hold the data when it comes in. Now you can do this in various ways in LiveCode. I'm going to just use one particular method just now. So having assigned the address of this external file to file choice, the next thing that I need to do is to open the file, and you can either open it for reading the data in or for writing data back out again. So for now, having assigned the address of the backing storage file, I'm now going to open it for reading. So I open it for reading and I read in the values until I reach the end of file, and quite often that's represented in programming languages as EOF. So I'm going to read in the values into here until end of file. Now the way I'm going to do it in my LiveCode program is just to read the whole block in as one set of data so that it's sitting in this storage location here that I've called values. And you'll see that I've got each value in turn separated by the return or the new line character. The next thing that I need to do is to split these up. Actually, before that, I need to close the file. So I had the address of this external file, I open it for reading, I read in the values, and then I break that connection. I close the file so that it becomes a closed entity on backing storage. So I now have my values sitting in RAM, and the next thing I want to do is to split them up so that they actually get placed into a one-dimensional array. Now you'll be familiar with this. The square brackets very often mean a one-dimensional array, and each element of the array gets its own storage location, and I use the return characters that I had, the new line characters, to split the data that I had into the individual values or elements. So I now have my file on backing storage. I've read in the values, they're sitting in an array here, and I could now carry out operations. I could maybe count up how many of them are the value 56, maybe search to see if I have a particular value in the array. Maybe I want to find the highest or the lowest value, or maybe even edit the values. So I might ask, which value do you want to edit? Say they say value 3, and I might change that value to a new value, say 789. So I'm editing this data here, and I now want to write this data back out to the external file. So once again, I have to make the link between my RAM variable called file choice. I have to assign it to this external file, give it the address, and then I have to open the file for writing. The first time I opened it for reading, so the values could be read into RAM, and now I'm going to perform a write operation so that the values get written out to this data file. So I assign file choice to the external file, I open it for writing, and then those values get transferred back out to the external file. And you'll notice I've now got the new value in. I close the file, so this link is broken. And then maybe I switch off the computer, close down everything, switch off. And so the contents of RAM, well, let's say that they disappear. So you'll see that I still have this stored on backing storage. And just to make this a sort of real life example, this is what you do every day. You know, say you make an essay in Word, you open up the file so that your essay gets read into RAM. You edit your essay, you maybe add a paragraph, maybe you change the formatting, and then you do a file and save, and the contents of RAM are transferred back out to your backing storage so that when you switch off, you still have a copy of your essay on backing storage. So that's my PowerPoint presentation, just to show you the key ideas. So I'll just quit that, and I'm now going to go into the LiveCode environment and actually show you the program that I can use to do that. So here I have my LiveCode program, and I'm just going to clear this field. And I've put in various buttons. I've got a load file, save file, and I've also got a button that will allow me to edit the values. And if you look in the code, let's have a look at the code for load file, so that's here. You'll notice that I've declared some variables. Remember, I had file choice, that's my variable that points to or addresses. Just write that. The external file. I had a variable called values, which was my holding place for the data that I read in from the file. And I also need a variable n that will track how many values were read in from the file. So when I click on this button, so on mouse up, I need a local variable, which I'll talk about in a minute. But you'll remember the first thing I did was I tried to make a link between the file that I had on backing storage and this internal variable file choice. So I'm going to ask them, which file do I want to open? And I'm going to put it, which will be the address of the file, into file choice. The next thing that I want to have happen, if you remember, having made the link, is I open the file for reading, and I read in all the values until end of file. So I say read from the file choice until end of file. And I put all that data, put it into values, and then I close the file. So these are very common operations to do with files. You open the file for reading or writing, you read in until you've got to the end of the file, you put the values somewhere, and then you close the file. And if you include this part at the top here, you have 5 steps altogether. First, to make the link, to assign your RAM variable or your local variable to the external file, open it for reading or writing, read or write, and then close the file. So maybe 4 steps. And having done that, I want to know how many pieces of data came in, and in LiveCode I can say put the number of lines, and you remember the data was separated by a new line code, put the number of lines in values into n, so that's why I declared that up at the top. I put empty into this field, and then in LiveCode I have this statements command, if you like, split values by return. And what that will do, if you remember, I broke up the values that I had into their individual array elements. So I split values by return. And then this little loop here, repeat with count going from 1 up to n, will allow me to put the values into the field so that I can see that they actually have arrived and they're in RAM. So let's just see what this does. So I'll click on load file, and it should ask me which file. Well, I've just stuck it on the desktop for now. So I'll choose numbers, and here they are. Right. So I opened up the file, I read them in, I closed the file, I split my values up that came in, and then this part here is displaying them in this field. Now let's edit one of the values. So which value should we edit? Let's edit number 2. So I'm going to write in that I want to edit number 2. And let's put a new value in. So let's put negative 123 so that it stands out a little bit. Press OK. So we can see here that we've got our new values. It's displaying them in the field. So you can assume that in RAM I have these new values sitting in RAM, but I want to make sure that they travel out to the external file. So I'm going to click on Save File, and I'll choose that file to write to. We don't see very much happen here, but if we actually go onto the desktop, and let's go up there and let's just open this up, you'll see that the data with the new element has been saved into the file. Let's just close that up again. So if I must have pressed Save File. Yeah, so Save File. Oh, I did, that's right. So it's gone into there. So if I could load it up again, it should ask me for the file to choose. There we go. Numbers. I've got these new values coming in and I can edit them. I'll just show you quickly the code on the save file. So that's here again. I've got my variable to make the link with the external file. I've got my array called values, which I've carried over from this button. And this one is much more straightforward in a way. You just say select the file to open so that you make the link between your RAM variable file choice and the external file. And then you've got this key line here where you open your file for writing. And then I go through my array and I write the contents of my array out to the file, and then I close the file. So make the link, open it up, write them or read them, close the file. Thanks for watching.